But when you're looking at a company like Microsoft, whose predominant AAA games are all first person, or not first person shooters, but they're all like competitive shooters like Halo, Gears of War, even Sea of Thieves, which is definitely not competitive, but it is still a multiplayer online experience. Latency is going to be a problem in all those games. So is cloud gaming the direction you really want to push this in if you're relying on that multiplayer ecosystem pretty much at all times?
Well, and the other issue that you run into from a technological standpoint is when you're streaming games, you need a lot of bandwidth to stream the games. When you're playing on your local console to a server in the cloud, you're only sending telemetry at that point. So it's much less bandwidth requirements in order to handle that kind of data than if you're trying to stream the actual game back and forth. Yeah, you're upstreaming telemetry to it when you're streaming the game, but all that video is pre-processed, pre-rendered, and basically streamed down to you as if you're watching it at that point in time on a TV. So that takes a lot of bandwidth. And you've already got companies like Comcast and Verizon that are capping your bandwidth now because of the amount of usage you have. And as you move to a model where your model relies on enhancing the amount of bandwidth that you use, you're going to start getting pushback from your ISPs. You're going to start getting data caps. You've already got home internet from T-Mobile and Verizon and AT&T over their cellular networks where you only get that high-speed 5G for a certain amount of that a certain amount of that month. And when you hit a certain cap, it drops it down to slower speeds, and that's going to have an impact on this type of gaming.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about, like, if this is the push we're gonna go for. It seems like Sony has its own version of Games Pass where they've got a ever-changing catalog of games coming in that you pay a flat fee per month, and then you can download these games and play them as they come to the service. It's just like what they have with Games Pass, and Ubisoft has one. A lot of these companies, they're doing that Netflix of gaming approach, combined with the cloud gaming aspect as well. So, if that's the way the industry is going, what is that going to look like with other companies, like you talk about the ISPs and things like that? Is everybody going to have to change if that's where gaming is going in the future? Because this is still, a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry that can throw its weight around if it needs to.
Well, and what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with streaming. You're going to have partnerships with the ISPs where the gaming companies are going to have to pay for premier access. Netflix, for instance. So Netflix actually has licensing arrangements with the various ISPs where Netflix puts essentially a caching proxy server inside their network. So when you request a movie for Netflix, you'll go up to Comcast. Comcast will hit the server that they're hosting, and if the movie's there, it'll stream from there. If it's not, it'll go out to Netflix then and get it, but then it caches it inside that network. So everyone else who requests that movie now gets it from the local. You're going to run into them doing the same type of thing where you're going to have exclusive partnerships with ISPs, which is going to cost the gaming companies money, and the gaming companies aren't going to absorb it. They're obviously going to pass it down to the customers, so you're going to see an increase in your monthly cost for that when the ISPs start getting fed up with it.
Yeah, we're already seeing increases in prices of Games Pass and things like that. Netflix too is notorious for raising their prices. All streaming services, it's just part of the I guess the business practice is how these things go. And especially you talked about how you'll cancel your service if you're not using it. Most people don't do that. I'm one of them. The companies count on you not canceling and just letting it lapse every month so they can keep getting that money.
Well, and they deliberately make it difficult to cancel.
Moving to block the deal in the U.S., citing concerns over Microsoft's habit of acquiring game studios as part of the Microsoft gaming brand. So that the FTC is not necessarily going with the cloud gaming angle. They're more worried about Microsoft buying up all these studios and sort of putting them under the Microsoft umbrella and having too much influence on them. But historically,
when they start acquiring things that become competitive in different aspects, because Lord knows Microsoft has already had issues with monopoly, complaints and stuff like that. But this is a practice they do across the board, not just gaming. So if they're getting scrutinized